The winter of the early 1940s didn't forgive anyone. Fuel was rationed, supply chains were fragile, and fresh vegetables could disappear for months at a time. Yet across Britain, parts of Europe and even North America, ordinary families were still eating fresh greens in the dead of winter. Not imported, not preserved, fresh. They did it with ingenuity, discipline, and a simple structure most people today overlook: the cold frame. What's remarkable is that these weren't expert farmers. They were factory workers, teachers and grandparents working small backyard plots under wartime pressure. Their methods weren't flashy, but they were effective. So effective that many of them are still used by modern survivalists and off-grid growers today. If you've ever thought winter means the end of fresh food, these World War II techniques prove otherwise. Understanding why cold frames became a wartime necessity. Cold frames weren't new in the 1940s, but wartime made them essential. During the World War II, governments pushed citizens to grow their own food through campaigns like Britain's Dig for Victory. But growing food in winter required protection from frost, wind, and frozen soil. A cold frame solved that problem. It was essentially a low wooden box with a transparent lid, often made from salvaged glass, placed directly over soil. It trapped sunlight during the day and held on to warmth at night, creating a microclimate that allowed hardy crops to survive freezing temperatures. Families quickly realized that with the right setup, they could stretch their growing season year-round. Now, here's something that, well, often slips through the cracks. The forgotten technique of using angled lids to capture weak winter sunlight. You see, one of the most overlooked tricks was the angle of the lid itself. WWII gardeners didn't just slap glass on top, they tilted it deliberately toward the winter sun. This mattered a great deal because, you know, winter sunlight is weaker and sits lower in the sky. By angling the lid southward, they managed to maximize heat absorption during the few daylight hours available. A flat lid lost precious warmth, but an angled one, well, it turned even a cold day into usable growing energy. So, if you're thinking about how to use this today, it's honestly pretty simple. When building or placing a cold frame, just raise the back higher than the front so the lid slopes toward the sun. Even a slight tilt, believe it or not, can raise internal temperatures by several degrees. Now, let's talk about how straw and manure turned freezing soil into a heat source. Many wartime families didn't rely on sunlight alone. They created what was known as a hotbed beneath the cold frame using decomposing organic matter. Fresh manure, especially from horses, generates heat as it breaks down. Gardeners would layer manure and straw beneath the soil, creating a natural heating system that could last for weeks. This was absolutely crucial during extended cold spells, when sunlight alone just wasn't enough. Today, compost can serve the same purpose. A thick layer of actively decomposing material beneath your planting soil can keep roots warm, even when air temperatures drop below freezing. Why timing mattered more than temperature? A common mistake today is planting too late. WWII gardeners understood that winter growing actually begins in late summer or early autumn. They planted crops early enough to establish strong roots before the cold set in. Once winter arrived, Growth slowed dramatically, but the plants didn't die. They simply held in a semi-dormant state, ready to be harvested as needed. This is something you can apply immediately. Instead of trying to grow vegetables during winter, focus on getting them established beforehand. Crops like kale, spinach and hardy lettuce can survive months of cold if they're mature enough before frost hits. The clever use of double insulation during extreme cold snaps was, well, a bit of a lifesaver. When temperatures plunged, a single layer of glass wasn't always enough, you know. Families added insulation at night using whatever they had: old sacks, straw mats, even blankets. This created a double barrier that trapped heat inside the frame. During the day, coverings were removed to let sunlight in, and at night they went back on to prevent heat loss. A modern version of this could be as simple as placing a tarp or cloth over your cold frame after sunset. It's low effort, but honestly, highly effective. Ventilation was treated as a survival skill, not an afterthought. One of the easiest ways to kill plants in a cold frame is overheating them. Even in winter, a sunny day can raise internal temperatures dramatically. WWII gardeners learned to ventilate carefully. They would prop open the lid slightly during the day to release excess heat and moisture, then close it again before temperatures dropped in the evening. If you're applying this today, make it a habit. Check your cold frame midday and allow airflow when needed. It prevents mold, disease, and sudden plant stress. Crop selection was strategic, not experimental. Wartime families didn't gamble on delicate crops. They focused on reliable, cold-hardy vegetables that could withstand harsh conditions. Spinach, kale, Swiss chard, and certain lettuces were staples. Root vegetables like carrots and turnips were also common, as they could remain in the ground and be harvested gradually. If you want results, follow the same principle. Choose crops bred for cold tolerance rather than trying to force summer plants to survive winter. Watering was done sparingly and with precision. Frozen soil and excess moisture are a dangerous combination. Too much water in winter can lead to rot and disease. WWII gardeners watered less frequently but more deliberately, often during the warmest part of the day. This ensured that moisture could be absorbed before temperatures dropped again. Applying this today means resisting the urge to overwater. Check the soil first. If it's still damp, leave it alone. Positioning the cold frame made all the difference. Placement wasn't random. Cold frames were positioned against walls, fences or buildings to block wind and capture residual heat. South-facing walls were especially valuable because they absorbed heat during the day and released it slowly at night. This created a more stable environment inside the frame. If you're setting one up now, place it where it gets maximum sunlight and protection from harsh winds. Even a small shift in location can significantly improve results. These simple wartime methods still produce food today. What makes these WWII techniques powerful is their simplicity. No electricity, no advanced materials, just an understanding of heat, timing and protection. Modern gardeners often overlook these basics, yet they remain just as effective now as they were during wartime shortages. With a small, cold frame and the right approach, fresh greens in January are entirely achievable. And that's the real takeaway. Resilience doesn't come from complexity. It comes from mastering the fundamentals. If you found this valuable and want more deep dives into forgotten survival techniques and wartime ingenuity, make sure to subscribe and share this with someone who appreciates practical history.